Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to today's event. I'm Jason Gumbert from msdynamicsworld.com, and we are here for a session all about preventing duplicate data from entering Dynamics 365 and Dynamics CRM. Our presenter today is Roland Dexter from QGate and Paribus Interactive. It is great to have him with us, and just wanted to let you know that as we start today's session, we do welcome questions. You can ask those at any point. Look for the Q&A block to the right of the main presentation window. I know Roland will be leaving time at the end for questions. So without any further delay, Roland, let me hand things off to you.
Thanks very much, Jason. Good day, everybody. My pleasure to take you through our recently released Paribus Interactive product. So just briefly in the next 30 minutes, what are we going to go through? Take a little bit as to how Paribus came about, Paribus Interactive came about, and we'll look at some of the issues that we're looking to mitigate and improve the user experience as well as improving overall data quality within your Dynamics 365 system. I'll take you through a little demonstration and some background, some commercials, and then some next steps. So without further ado, just to, some of you may know of QGate from our other offerings. IntelliCTI is our telephony integration product that's been in market for a good number of years, as has our Paribus Discovery product. So Paribus Interactive is part of our Paribus family, both products aimed at the problem of duplicate data. Paribus Discovery being what we're seeing as the cure, so that's been the utility, been in market for a number of years, that aims to identify and remove, merge duplicate data. And it was really out of that experience that the Paribus Interactive story came about. So the whole point here of this topic, this session, is around how we can help you and your users prevent the entering of duplicate data. And the core essence behind that is that we help them find data that's already existing within their system, and therefore because of maybe misspells or sequence or something, that they can't find it using the standard capabilities within CRM. And our driving force through the Paribus Interactive development project has been to enable all users to play this part of the data quality puzzle, whilst also looking at how we could improve the user experience with CRM as they do that. And in the demonstration, hopefully we'll make that quite clear. So there's kind of an essence of, there's a core underlying need here that we're trying to help out, as well as improving that whole user experience piece. For those of you that may not be familiar with the Paribus Discovery product and how that works, effectively we have an underlying engine that does data matching, and here we're highlighting some of the algorithms that we've created to match on synonyms, acronyms, etc. Common things around the variation of names, as the examples are showing there. Things like phonetic matching, the photo center is quite a good example of that. And simple things like, data variation, data sequence variation. So, if you were using any of the rules within standard Dynamics products, they don't go anywhere near this kind of capability. And it's this same engine that powers our Discovery product in terms of that identification and removal of duplicate data as a batch kind of capability to the engine that we are repurposing in the world of Paribus Interactive. So we did talk about a solution for every user. We've tried to make this encompassing. We have been in this world of duplicate data management and avoidance, etc., for many, many years. We started off in different technologies many years ago, looking at avoiding this at point of entry. So as you entered in an account and contact, it would look out in the system and see if there was something similar in the system already and highlight that. Whereas what we've taken an approach with Dynamics 365 is actually to extend that kind of data search capability and use it in multiple places around the application, not just for that point of entry purpose, and therefore every user has benefit for it. So if we look at the various core areas of CRM, let's talk about marketing and leads. So marketing there, they generate leads, those goes into leads area, and then there's somebody's role and purpose is to go and qualify those leads. Microsoft doesn't do a very good job at all at helping people understand whether that lead is known to anybody else within the system at all. There is no check and balance there. Lead just comes in and you're asked to qualify it. So how can we help in that scenario? When it comes to the sales area operation, then there's opportunities being created, and obviously therefore you're trying to associate an opportunity with an account stroke contact, and in some cases maybe multiple relationships. So in the world of finance, we might find that there's a person and an end customer that's getting a loan, but there's an intermediary involved, and there's maybe a supplier involved, a vendor involved. So looking up those multiple links can be quite tedious, with the standard lookup capability, which has no fuzzy capability in it, whatsoever. So we'll look at how we can help there. Similarly with customer support, and they're creating cases. Again, those cases will be associated with accounts or contacts. Slight nuance with cases, obviously, is in standard form, the customer relationship could be an account or a contact, and can we manage that? We'll show you how that works. And then lastly, of course, everybody else is dealing with accounts and contacts. They're trying to find the contact that they need to create phone calls for, etc., or looking up accounts they need to work with. So how can we help there? The example I use quite often is I was at an event maybe 6 months ago, and I remember speaking to a guy called Rob who worked for a network company. Trying to find that network company in CRM is significantly difficult, if not impossible, within standard CRM. So we'll see how we can help. Let's take a look. Let's dive into a demo and see what we can see. So here I've just come into Dynamics 365 leads area. I've got a number of leads here, and I'm going to open up one of those leads. It's my role here to qualify these leads and take them forward into the next step. And as we know that with CRM, there is nothing here other than the standard lookup to try and see whether that this lead exists. At the moment, we've got a lead called Dixon Rob. Maybe that's not quite. Maybe it should be Rob Dixon, and they're working for a network company. So without the user doing anything else than just simply going into this lead, we've surfaced Paribus here to help them, potentially qualify that that this lead has an existing relationship, existing record within CRM. We're already highlighting that maybe there's more than one inquiry from this particular person, and this time we can see that the Dixon Rob and Bob Dixon, there's a potential match there, particularly as they're working at a network company. So that might be interesting to know this person maybe is coming through various mechanisms and has made multiple inquiries. Useful to know potentially if we look at the account area, that we can see here that the company has surfaced maybe a couple of times, again with slightly variance in names, and equally with the contact, there is a couple of Bobby Dixons in the system already. So this immediately gives the person who is trying to do this qualification a far greater insight that maybe this person isn't inquiring for the first time. They may be a significant customer. We can pop out window and go and review that account if we think that's the right account, and just navigate straight into that record to see if it is the appropriate record to deal with, for example. If we go back here and we decide that actually yes, this Bob Dixon is the right record and it is of the appropriate company, if we select, then we populate the lead information here, and we can carry on with our qualify process in knowing that we are not going to create a duplicate record, even though the naming of the account and contact is slightly different. The other thing to note here is that when we are talking about matching data, Paribus, we are looking at it from a contact and a company perspective, or a person and a company perspective. And therefore, we are looking across the accounts, contacts and leads area in appropriate context to find those potentially matching records. And here you can see we've highlighted that we can, we are looking at existing contacts, existing leads and listing accounts. So we are not just focused on an account, the account entity in isolation, or the contact in the entity in isolation. We can look across all of those. So that's one area. We talked about marketing and leads and helping that qualification process. So let's look at the other scenario where we were thinking of opportunities and how can we help the prevention of duplicate accounts and contacts in this area. So let's just go into start up a new opportunity. As we implement CRM ourselves in the UK, we would always advise that you go and find the account and contact and then you enter the opportunity from that point, and therefore the relationship is inherent. But we know through our own customers that not everybody does that. So this is a case in point where we are entering a new opportunity and we want to go and find the contact to relate this to. So we've just surfaced the search capability with Paribus here in front of that opportunity, and this is going to start to become familiar to you in terms of we have done a look into the database, we pull back various records. If I go back to the search capability and put my networks company in here again, then this time it reduces our 5 contacts down to 4 contacts by adding that extra piece of information. And obviously the slightly more information you add, then the more accurate that return is going to be. But you can see here that again we just used network, we used Rob Dixon, and you can get an idea of the sort of fuzzy matching that we're doing and the capabilities of the underlying match engine that's powering this. We haven't replaced the standard lookups, and even in the form here, the standard fields are still applied. This is simply a web resource that's configured into this part of the form as part of creating a new opportunity. If we look further out and we look at the service area and we look at cases, and we do the similar thing. I can try. So this time we know that the customer field here can be an account or contact. In this case, I want it to be a customer, and the customer in this case is a, let's get in there, JAE, and find no customers. But if I put my customer search in here, and I can use our now familiar Rob Dixon as our contact. So the customer name is JAE, and I do a search. We can see here that we're pulling back. There's no customer contacts starting with JAE, but there are several accounts that start or have a title or a name of JAE. And again, we can see here the acronym piece falling into place here, where we have JAE, and then it's finding other companies that start JAE, etc. So you can see this, the capabilities of the fuzzy search. I didn't put any location or address qualification in there because we've only got limited data, so there's no need. But if you add that location validation, then it will keep that search nice and succinct. And again, we've done that contact search on our Rob Dixon, and we're bringing back what is now becoming a familiar set of test data. But the point here is that in the search capability, we have configured, and I will underline this is configuration, this is not coding. We have configured a search that is a dual search in this case, one across the customer area and then a second across the contact area. And this is where I was referring to, if you have to have multiple lookups within an entity, then you just simply configure multiple searches to support populating those fields back into the record that you're building here. So a last example in terms of embedding that kind of capability. If we just an example here, if we create a phone call, we've simply again embedded that search capability into that head of that phone call record, and rather than having to do the standard lookup capability in the record, we can use the Paribus fuzzy search capability here. And the point here is that you can embed this capability in any entity that needs to ultimately be associated with an account or contact or even leads. So you can look up leads if that's appropriate as well. And that's all through configuration. And I'll give you a glimpse of how that happens towards the end of this session. But this is all configuration, including configuring the fields you have here and the closest of match, etc. So you can tune this capability to work optimally with your system and the data that you have. So that gives you an idea of how we've embedded the search piece within the application to give you a much better enhanced lookup capability, making use of that fuzzy search mechanism, and thereby finding data that already exists in your system, even though the search might be slightly off, and therefore not requiring the user to just fall into the habit of creating a new record and duplicating data. So we have also provided a search capability. We know that we've got the formal search. If we do again, we've already looked at this, so JAE. We don't find that account. There's somebody referenced JA as a lead, but we're not finding that count. But we have already seen that in our search capabilities, we can put in, and we can simply find those accounts. We can find a list of contacts that are relative to those accounts, and there is that lead there that's sitting in there we saw from the wider search. So the scenario where we're sort of saying, actually, I met this guy called Rob, worked for a network organization, is a piece of cake. It's very, very simple to do now within the Paribus capability. And again, you're going to find that record. It's not going to have to be entered again, and your data quality is going to be retained. The efficiency of your users is going to be improved because maybe they might try searching several ways before they give up and enter a record, but they don't have to. They don't waste any time. They simply use this search capability, and they are straight into seeing that data being presented back to them. Okay. And lastly, just to show that in terms of adding new data, we play a part in that as well. So if it is, yes, I definitely want to add a new account, we can still do the process here of putting minimal data in, and we just do the check existing, and yes, there's some leads, there's some accounts. And again, so even at the adding point, even if they don't bother doing the search initially, we are still providing that assistance to avoid entering data that effectively already exists. So that's a quick run through in terms of a demo of the application, or how we embed into the application of 365. And I think hopefully we've covered the point that we are providing a solution for all users, whatever aspect of the business that they are working in. If they're using Dynamics 365 or CRM, then we are providing them advantages and assisting in that data quality process. So just moving on to a quick, very simplistic overview as to how this hangs together. We're actually running our Paribus service in Azure, or on Azure, which means that we can geolocate to your preferences. So if you're in the US, we have instances fired up there, Australia, Europe, UK, and obviously other instances of Azure as and when demand is required. So we run a service in Azure. We sync certain data, accounts, contacts, leads, and the associated addresses into that service. It's then hashed, which means that as the user goes through CRM, as we've just seen, there's interactively queries going back, and appropriately results are being fed back to the user in the way that we've seen. We can support Dynamics 365 online, and we are compliant with Dynamics 2013 and above. If you are on premise, then we do need IFD so that we can communicate backwards and forth if you're on premise. In terms of who accesses Paribus, who has that facility presented to them, it's all managed by a security role. So you as users, you as customers, can manage who gets that facility. And we do a count effectively on the number of active Paribus Interactive security roles in terms of licensing. So hopefully that gives you a brief overview of how the system hangs together. I mentioned a couple of times that the system is configurable. So what we provide is a small application that basically walks you through the process of implementing the solution into Paribus. Obviously we carry out the provisioning of our service, but the application, the solution manager that we provide, enables you to go through, connect to your CRM instance. It will check if you've got Paribus installed or not. If you haven't, it will give you the latest version. If you have a previous version, it will highlight that there's an updated version. It will allow you to carry out administration in terms of applying the security role. It will also then allow you to manage the sitemap in terms of where that search capability is. And then lastly, there's the configuration of those rules. So if you want to adjust those rules, we give you a default set of rules out of the box. If you want to adjust those rules in any way, the closeness of match, the fields that we're matching on, etc., that's all done through configuring through the solution manager. So it becomes a very simple admin task to implement and manage this overall solution. So a quick talk on pricing, licensing and pricing. So there are two elements to the overall pricing of the solution. And the first one is around the number of users that are active with that security role, so the number of users you've applied that security role to. And the other piece is relevant to the amount of data that we are effectively helping you look after in terms of number of records. And you'll see that the data is easily estimated because it's the number of active accounts plus the number of active contacts plus twice the number of active leads. And why we times leads by 2 is because a lead can be both a person and a company. And there you can see the bandings there for the data element, which is a monthly charge along with the monthly subscription of the number of users. So pretty straightforward in terms of the pricing, and generally this goes down very well in terms of the value versus the cost. So keeping within the sort of the time frame, we're giving you a view of why we've created this product, the benefits that we see. You've had a look at the product and how it works. We talked about the pricing, etc. So what are the next steps? We would suggest you select your preferred browser and search Paribus Cloud. We have a microsite that's been set up purely for our Paribus family of products, and on that microsite there are various links all over the site to allow you to request the trial, and we will provide you a free trial of the product to assess that against your data, and then assess that in terms of the benefit to your organization. Very straightforward. Just search Paribus Cloud and you will go straight to that microsite. On that microsite we have a help area, so there's product information, but there's also backup information about how the product works. The pricing information is in the help center as well, so please feel free to browse around there and get information. If there's anything that you can't find, by all means contact us through the forms that are there. So we have some contact details here, but as I say, it's just as easy to go to our paribuscloud.com site and contact us. We'd be very happy to talk to you and facilitate any trials or information you may require. So hopefully that's covered that well enough for you. I'm happy to take some questions if they've arisen. Jason, have you got some questions there that have been raised at this point?
Yes, Roland, so we have a question here asking if there's any application within this tool for use in a batch process.
So the answer to that is Paribus Discovery. So the Paribus Discovery is absolutely the batch tool to identify and merge/remove duplicate data. And we are just enabling that for a rental basis as well. So it was previously a perpetual purchase license only, but we're just enabling a rental. That could be a month at a time, or a 12-month commitment period. So Paribus Discovery.
All right, great. I'll make a last call for questions here. If you have any other questions, feel free to enter them into the Q&A right now. I'm also just launching a very brief poll question. As Roland mentioned, there's obviously several ways to get in touch and take next steps, but if you want to indicate your plans here, feel free to just indicate here. It'll give the Paribus Interactive team at QGate just a better sense of who you are and what your interests are. So feel free to do that. And Roland, just a note to you, it's sort of blocking your screen. So if you want to close that down on your own desktop, it'll make the contact information visible again.
Cool.
All right, I'm just going to check for any other questions here.
One other question that has come up before in the sessions that we've run is around where I showed you that you could review and you can select those cards. Can you do a custom action? And the answer is yes. So we've had a couple of inquiries about being able to execute a process from that card, from the results card, and the answer is yes. So that might be of interest to some of the people out there.
All right. Well, we are at the end of the question queue, it appears, so I think we can begin to wrap up. So, Roland, thanks so much for taking the time to present to us today.
It's been a pleasure. Look forward to speaking to anybody that has an interest. Thank you.
All right, and with that, we're going to wrap up today's session. Please do look for the survey that you should see after the session concludes. We really appreciate any other feedback you want to provide, both on your experience and on the presentation specifically. With that, that concludes today's event. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, Jason. Thanks, everybody.